You've had this idea for months, a simple app that would solve a problem at work, but you don't know how to code, and hiring a developer costs more than your car. So the idea just sits there, in a Notes app, gathering dust. What if I told you that barrier might not exist anymore? I'm testing whether non-programmers can actually build working software using nothing but plain English. Let's find out. There's a term for this. It went from a joke on social media to a dictionary entry in under 12 months. That term is vibe coding. Collins Dictionary named it their word of the year. Merriam-Webster added it to their watch list. 92% of US developers now use AI coding tools daily. But here's what nobody's talking about: the security research. AI-written code contains nearly 3 times more vulnerabilities than human-written code. Nearly 3 times. So what exactly is vibe coding? The term comes from Andrej Karpathy. He co-founded OpenAI, led Tesla's AI division. Not exactly a random internet commenter. In February 2025, Karpathy posted his definition, and I quote, "Fully give in to the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists." The idea is simple. You describe what you want in plain English. The AI writes the code, you test it. If it doesn't work, you describe the problem in plain English. Repeat. No syntax memorization. No debugging cryptic error messages at 2 in the morning. Just conversation. At least, that's the pitch. What started as a meme became a methodology. In under a year, vibe coding went from Twitter joke to structured software development approach with its own tooling ecosystem. And the adoption numbers are staggering. According to Natively.dev's 2026 analysis, 92% of US developers use AI coding assistants daily. Globally, it's 82% weekly. But professional developers using AI as an assistant is different from non-programmers using AI as their entire development team. That's where things get interesting and risky. A CodeRabbit analysis examined 470 GitHub pull requests. Their finding? AI co-authored code contains 2.74 times more security vulnerabilities than human-written code. That same study found 75% more misconfigurations, elevated rates of logic errors, incorrect dependencies, flawed control flow. This isn't nitpicking. These are the bugs that let hackers in. So here's the paradox. The tools are getting better every month. But the gap between a working demo and production-ready software? That's where most vibe coding projects die. I wanted to test this myself. Not with a toy project, with something real. Something a non-technical professional might actually need. The leading vibe coding tools right now are Cursor for IDE-based development, Replit Agent for browser-based building, and Claude Code for complex reasoning tasks. I chose Replit Agent because it runs entirely in your browser. No installation, no configuration. If vibe coding is supposed to be accessible, this is the most accessible version. My test project? A personal expense tracker. Something useful, something simple, something that a non-programmer might actually want to build. Nothing flashy. I typed my request in plain English. Build me a web app where I can log expenses with a date, amount, and category, then see a monthly summary with charts. 47 seconds later, I timed it. The AI had generated a complete application. Database schema, user interface, interactive charts, all from one sentence. And here's the thing, it worked. I could add expenses. The charts updated in real time. The categories were color-coded. If I'd stopped there, I would have called vibe coding magical. But I didn't stop there, because the question isn't whether vibe coding can build something that looks like an app. It's whether it can build something safe enough to actually use. I asked a developer friend to review the code. Her first finding? The app stored user data with no encryption. Anyone on my network could have read every expense I logged. Second finding? No input validation. A malicious user could inject code into the category field and potentially access the underlying database. Basic Security 101, completely absent. Now, to be fair, I didn't ask for security features, but that's exactly the point. A professional developer would have built them in by default. The AI waited to be told. This matches the CodeRabbit data perfectly. AI doesn't make mistakes because it's stupid. It makes mistakes because it does exactly what you ask. Nothing more, nothing less. And if you don't know what to ask for, If you don't know that input validation exists or that you should encrypt user data, you'll build something that looks perfect but is fundamentally broken. The SciPoint guide calls this the validation gap. Quote, "What started as a catchy label for prompting an LLM has matured into a structured AI-first development methodology with proper validation layers." That phrase, validation layers, is doing a lot of heavy lifting because the tools themselves have evolved to address exactly this problem. Modern vibe coding tools now include security scanning, automated testing, and code review suggestions. But here's the catch. You have to know these features exist, and you have to use them. Let me run through what I learned about making vibe coding actually work, not for demos, but for real tools you'd trust with your data. First principle, start with something that doesn't matter. Your first vibe-coded project shouldn't touch customer data, financial records, or anything you can't afford to lose. Consider building a personal expense tracker, not one connected to your bank, a reading list tracker, a workout log, something where failure is just an inconvenience, not a disaster. Replit Agent offers a free tier. You could build something simple this weekend, but, and this matters, show the result to someone technical before you trust it. Second principle, the prompt is everything. Vibe coding isn't magic, it's translation. The AI will build exactly what you describe. Vague input equals vague output. You might want to specify requirements you'd normally assume. Include user authentication, encrypt stored data, validate all input fields, add error handling for edge cases. Don't assume the AI shares your assumptions. Third principle, and this is the one nobody wants to hear, you need to learn to read code. Not write it, read it. There's a difference. Understanding what the AI wrote is fundamentally different from writing it yourself. You don't need to know syntax. You need to know enough to spot when something looks wrong. Consider taking a basic programming concepts course, not to become a developer, but to become a better vibe coder. Coursera has free options. LinkedIn Learning does too. A few hours could save you weeks of debugging. Let me be honest about what I think vibe coding is actually good for, and where it falls apart. Vibe coding excels at internal tools, things only you will use. Prototypes that prove a concept before you hire a real developer. Automations that live on your machine and never touch a server. It falls apart with customer-facing applications. Anything handling payment information, healthcare data, login credentials. The stakes are too high and the security gaps too consistent. And here's where I land on this whole thing. Vibe coding is real. It works. But it's a tool, not a replacement for understanding what you're building. One approach that works well, never deploy vibe-coded software to production without a security review from someone who can actually read the code. Budget for it. It's cheaper than getting hacked. The tools are getting better. The methodology is maturing. What SciPoint calls AI-first development is becoming a real discipline, not just an experiment. But right now, today, in March 2026, the gap between what vibe coding can demo and what it can safely deploy remains significant. That gap is closing. It isn't closed. If this kind of practical AI tool analysis interests you, consider subscribing. We break down what actually works every week. No hype, just honest testing. Here's your homework. This week, try Replit Agent. Build something small, something that doesn't matter. And then ask yourself, do I understand what I just built? If the answer is no, that's okay. That's the starting point. The goal isn't to become a programmer, it's to become a programmer's informed collaborator. Because here's the future I see for vibe coding. It's not non-programmers replacing developers. It's non-programmers and developers speaking the same language for the first time. Karpathy was right about one thing. The vibes matter. But vibes without validation, that's how you build a house of cards. And houses of cards eventually fall. Vibe coding is real, it works, and it's only getting better, but the 2.74 times vulnerability rate isn't going away until the tools or the users learn to build security in by default. Start small. Build something that doesn't matter. Show it to someone who can read code. Learn from what they find. Then build something a little more ambitious. That's how you vibe code responsibly. That's how you turn plain English into working software without building something you'll regret. I'll see you next week.